Hello friends, and welcome once again to Figure Study, where we appreciate the form in Transformers. And today we're taking a look at another Power of the Primes figure, finally. Because yes, I finally got my hands on another Power of the Primes figure. Though technically speaking, I actually do have a few. I've just been kind of waiting on some of them, but yes. Anyway, Power of the Primes Optimus Prime is what we're going to be taking a look at today. And I'm not super into this truck mode. I mean, I feel like I'm probably going to echo the sentiment of virtually everyone else who's done videos on this thing, in that the truck mode kind of sucks, but the robot modes are actually pretty cool, so just expect more of that. Okay, yes, this does not look great. Right off the bat, you can see, like, the top of the trailer's got some red on there, you got some red here. This is, like, super misshapen. The cab has, like, painted windows and then obviously see-through windows. It's kind of messy, but the thing is, considering what this does, I'm not entirely sure there's another way they could have done this. I mean, maybe there is, I don't know, but I just am not entirely sure what else they could have done to clean up this trailer more, or to make this look not terrible. But anyway, as you can see, this is more of a classic Prime Plus trailer motif, and for what it is, I think it looks okay. I mean, it does look bad, but it hits the right notes. You've got the boxy truck and the big gray refrigerator box trailer with the stripe and the Autobot logo and all that stuff going on. So it's like a rough sketch of what the classic Prime and trailer combination is meant to look like. Now, let's take a look at the trailer first, get this out of the way. And again, like, from the side, it's not bad. It's, you know, it's gray. It's got the right kind of stripe in there. It's got the little kind of corrugated texture there. It's got very plain black plastic wheels, which is disappointing, but whatever. And yeah, mine does have the same issue that a lot of people's is having, in that because these are stickers and because the way this kind of transforms, they're getting a little peely here and there. On the back, it is blue. And that does kind of stand out, but at the same time, it's the back. Like, yeah, it doesn't match, but it's not that unreasonable to think that the rear doors on a trailer could be a different color than the rest of the trailer. But I mean, I guess it would be nice if that was a bit closer to gray. On the top is where things get a little bit rougher, especially because you've got these gaps here that I don't really know why those are there, other than to maybe just reduce the amount of plastic used. There might be a little bit more of a reason to it. I'll have to double check during the transformation. It might be that, like, components here need to tuck in there, in which case, fine. But then we've got the very obvious Optimus Prime arms that are just the top of the trailer, and that's kind of not great. And of course, you've got the gun sticking out, and yeah, it could be better. But again, I think considering what this does, this isn't terrible. Could be better, but it's not terrible. This is much closer to terrible. Not that it is terrible, but I think the truck is just not handled as well as the trailer is. Yeah, the trailer is kind of a mess, but this is way more of a mess. Now, from the front, it looks okay, though it kind of flares out at the bottom here weirdly. But I mean, there are certain things that they did a good job with painting. Like the fact that on the side here, you've got the silver stripe going along here. They actually painted the window with, like, silver around the outside. They painted the mirrors silver. You've got a nice continuous bumper across the front, and the grille and the lights and all that. And even the windshield wipers. So they did okay with regards to the paint on, like, this front part. There is a lot of stuff at the top here that's molded but not painted, which is a shame, but limitations, I guess. Where it all starts to fall apart for me is, like, from here back. Especially, like, this bit here, it comes in and it's not anywhere near, like, it's not even trying to be flush with this, but it's still molded to look like the side of the truck, and it's just kind of like, why? And then you've got these that, like, sometimes it seems like you're supposed to leave them up, which looks terrible, and other times it seems like you're supposed to bring them down, which looks terrible. It doesn't really matter. And there are slots here that look like they could tab onto here, but you can't have these sitting flush if you do that. Like, they actually have to come out and it doesn't want to do that when this is plugged in. So, yeah. And this part is obviously robot legs, and then you've got the wheels, and again, the wheels are not painted, but fine, whatever. I do have to say, though, at least these are lined up. And there are other elements of the classic Prime truck on there, like the fuel tanks on the side there. And of course, you got, red cab, blue back of the cab. But it's still pretty ugly. And then you've got clear plastic in the front, which is there because of the Matrix gimmick. Because we've always got to waste everyone's time with a Matrix gimmick. And yeah, it comes with the Matrix. It's a Prime Master thing. You can tuck a Prime Master in there, or a Titan Master, or whatever. What annoys me with this, other than its mere existence, is the fact that it doesn't really fit in the way I feel like it should. Like, it does not want to go in this way. It just doesn't want to go in. And I feel like it should go that way because you got these two little bumps on top and you got the unsightly Prime Master bit on the bottom there. But no, it has to go in this way because this way it actually does pop in there without any real problem. So, yeah. And now it's a truck cab. It's a truck cab. It's driving down the street with a giant friggin' Matrix in the driver's seat. That's just... But I mean, it's a Power of the Primes figure. So, of course, they've got to shoehorn in some kind of ridiculous Prime Master gimmick. I just wish it wasn't that. But then again, it does make sense that they would do that for an Optimus Prime figure, because you always have to do a Matrix. Always, always, always have to do a Matrix. I'm just going to slide him back. There we go. Again, I'm not super crazy about this mode, but it's okay for what it is. It's just that Matrix gimmick that bugs me more than anything. And then, starting off the size comparisons, you can see that the cab is roughly deluxe size, and then, the trailer adds a bunch more to it. Pull this back a little bit so you can see. And, it's about the size that you'd expect, probably. And here we have the other Power of the Prime's big guy. In this case, Rodimus Unicronus, as opposed to Rodimus Prime, because I don't have Rodimus Prime, because Rodimus Prime is lame. But here you can see the two of them, and Optimus he almost looks a little bit longer, but they're about the same if you factor in things like the nose for Rodimus Unicronus's car and all that. But yeah, it's just a leader figure, so it's leader size. And then just because, might as well do this with the standalone car-ish car modes, so you can see how Optimus and Rodimus stack up. And there's kind of no beating around the bush here. Rodimus, even regular Rodimus, looks so much better in standalone vehicle mode than Prime here. It's kind of sad. But I think that's about all I can take talking about Power of the Primes, Optimus's cab, because again, I do appreciate the fact that you can only do so much with what they were planning on doing with this set, so obviously concessions had to be made, but this is not a great-looking truck cab. There's no getting around that. But anyway, that is enough talking about the not great stuff. Let's start talking about the great stuff. And here we have Power of the Primes Orion Pax, and this is actually really cool. What's kind of weird is I wasn't super into the look of Orion Pax, looking at videos and images and stuff like that, but in hand, he's a really neat looking robot. And it's really interesting too how it took this long for us to, at least as far as I'm aware, get a toy representation of original Orion Pax. I know there have been versions of Orion Pax in the past, but as far as I'm aware, I don't think there have been any that were made to depict the G1 official Orion Pax look. I don't know if it's just seeing it in 3 dimensions that's making the difference or what, but this is actually a really neat little robot. And it's not even that little either. It's, slightly taller than a regular deluxe, but it's just neat. He effortlessly pulls off heroic poses. He just looks like he's ready for a fight or ready to stand up for justice or whatever. And yeah, he's got a bit of a backpack there, which I was messing around, and you can kind of fold these down if you don't want the backpack sticking off as much, but it still just kind of looks ridiculous, so this is fine. And besides, when you're looking at him from the front, it's still very cool. I know Orion Pax is basically Proto-Optimus Prime, back when he was a librarian or whatever, but there's still a lot of Optimus Prime notes in this design, which I know is kind of the point. But he's got blue legs, silver thighs, red torso, blue fists, blue head with a silver face, what could arguably be considered a window chest. There is a fair bit here that is actually translated into his full Optimus Prime mode. And it's cool. I really like this robot mode. I don't know why. It looked sort of derpy to me when I was looking at pictures and stuff, but in hand, this is a really neat robot. Again, he's sort of got the Optimus Prime look, but at the same time, he's actually got more rounded bits to him. Like he's got more of a rounded shape on the knee pads, and you can kind of see a similar rounded shape for the shoulders. His forearms are a little bit cylindrical. He's got a round helmet, so it's interesting. And detail-wise, got a little bit of silver there, some stickers, some unfortunately hollow inner thighs and shins, but it's fine because it's not really noticeable. Because, I mean, when I'm looking at the figure like this, or even like this, my eye is drawn here. I'm not really looking down here. But yeah, all that looks good for what it is, and some nice molding in there too. Most of the paint is concentrated around the chest and head, which I think is kind of as it should be, and also that kind of helps draw the eye. Yeah, it does look really cool, and I like this sort of nondescript Cybertronian molded detail in the chest there, with like just little bits of yellow in there to kind of pop among that red. It's a really, really cool robot mode. I really wish I could figure out why I like this as much as I do, because, again, it looks like it should be derpy, but it's really not. I'm not super into the head, but I don't think the head looks bad. It looks very, like, 80s cartoon goody-goody, I guess, which is kind of the point. But it is interesting how, even though the head colors are the same, the overall shape and stuff is drastically different than what Optimus Prime ends up looking like. Really, the only thing that's kind of the same is, like, if you look like that. Just that bit there, that is very Optimus Prime. And I think that's really cool. They're actually able to capture that in this head sculpt. Unfortunately, you've got this little extra bit on the back there, but it's really not that bad. It seemed like it jutted out more than it really does in like the promo materials and other videos and stuff that I've seen. I really do like Orion Pax's robot mode, and I feel like I shouldn't, or maybe not that I shouldn't, but it's just a surprise to me that I do, because like I said, I just kind of thought he looked a little bit derpy, but in the end, no, it's actually pretty darn cool. And here you can see him next to tiny Rodimus Unicronus, and he is actually a little bit taller. I'd say like maybe half a head, give or take. And in terms of just aesthetics between one robot mode and the other, I mean, I like Rodimus Unicronus's paint scheme. I think the black, purple, and silver is a really nice look. But these robot modes, it's no contest. Orion Pax looks super great, and this is kind of bland and okay by comparison. And for more standard size comparison areas with a regular Power of the Primes Deluxe, and yeah, like I said, he's a little bit bigger than a regular Deluxe. And this is one of the reasons why I've been hesitant to use him and Rodimus Unicronus for size comparisons as like a regular Deluxe, because they really aren't. They're a little bit bigger than a regular Deluxe. Also, this is a complete non sequitur, but I just wanted to say, hopefully soon I won't have to be using Slug for size comparisons anymore, because I hate Slug, and the less I have to actually touch him, the better. So hopefully I'll have a better candidate for size comparisons in hand soon. I want to keep it to Power of the Primes. But I think that is going to do it for the size comparisons. So yeah, Orion Pax really, again, I've said this multiple times, but I am shocked at just how much I really like this robot mode. I like it to the point where I'm honestly tempted to try and get my hands on another Prime or just this guy for cheap. So that way I can have the fully put together Optimus Prime mode and Orion Pax at the same time. This is a really, really good Orion Pax. It's a really good robot. But anyway, that's enough about Proto Optimus Prime. Let's get to regular non-Proto Optimus Prime. And so here we have Power of the Primes, Optimus Prime, all combined up. And he's still a pretty much typical looking Optimus Prime, but there is just a little bit of hardcore sprinkled on there, I think, mostly because of just the overall proportions and that like his chest is a little bit beefier, his arms are a little bit bulkier. He's still very much classic Optimus Prime, but he just looks a little bit more, I guess, burly. I, more than anything, really like how the trailer turns into the framework for all this, and then Orion Pax turns into the head and chest and just kind of plugs in there. It's very cool. It's a very nice silhouette. He does have some panels here and there, but they don't really bother me. Color-wise, he is, again, very similar to his Orion Pax counterpart in the sense that he's got the blue legs, the gray thighs, the red torso and arms, and the blue head with the silver face. But there are some differences here that, I mean, they both help to kind of bulk him out more, and also they kind of don't work in terms of continuity in the design. Things like the fact that his fists are gray, and I know his fists are supposed to be blue, and I know this is a point of contention for a lot of people, but for me, the fists being gray don't bother me as much in the sense that Optimus Prime's supposed to have blue fists. The reason this bothers me is because Orion Pax has blue fists. And this is supposed to be an upgraded version of Orion Pax, and so in order for him to hit all the same color cues, I feel like they're really missing a beat by not having those fists being blue. And what kind of sucks is they could have done it, because those forearms are painted plastic. So they could have theoretically done the plastic in blue and have, you know, like the fists are actually molded in, they're not like a separate piece. So that forearm is part of the fist, so I mean, I guess maybe they didn't because they'd be painting red over blue and that would be a huge problem. But if that's the case, they could have made the fists a separate piece because there's enough space there. They could have done like a mushroom peg thing. They probably didn't to save money, but it kind of stinks that they didn't do that. Regardless, I think overall the color is fine. It's just the blue fists do kind of bug me, but for reasons that are a little bit different than why they bug everyone else. I also feel like maybe they could have done the plastic in here on the torso, in here, made that red, but at the same time, given the whole way this guy transforms and the slightly different take on the classic Optimus Prime look, this doesn't bother me too much because the gray on red kind of works here because you've got it on the arms there too and on the shoulders. So I don't think that is as bad as the fists not being blue, but probably could have painted them. I don't know. But anyway, he's got the typical yellow panels for the Optimus Prime pelvis area, which I guess the yellow details from Orion Pax just kind of moved down for some reason when he transformed. I don't know. It's got the telltale truck grill abs, although it is interesting that all of the truck stuff isn't actually from the original truck cab. Like even these are actually fake. And I didn't say this in Orion Pax's portion of the video because I didn't think it was relevant to what I was saying about that aspect of the figure. But here, I do think it's kind of cool how they basically cheated and how you've got these, like these bits here are actually the outside of the truck cab. Like that's a pretty cool transformation trick, really. And then, of course, can swing these open, and here you've got that ever-loving Matrix nonsense in the chest. And again, like, fine, I get it, it's an Optimus Prime, you're pretty much contractually bound to do this nonsense, but it doesn't work that well here. Also, you've got to open so many doors to get to it. It's just kind of annoying, and it gets in the way when you transform him back into Orion Pax or truck cab mode, because the head kind of pushes it back out. And like I've said many times, I'm not a huge fan of Matrix gimmicks. And for some reason, the ankles on this guy are pretty loose. Detail-wise, they did paint the vents in the shins, which is nice, because that is very much a Telltale Optimus Prime detail. Thighs are standard gray, but fine. They are very, very hollow, though there are some piston details and stuff in there, so it's not too bad. And I do like how, even though the calves are hollow, you don't really see much of it because the trailer kind of turns inside out and wraps around it to cover it up, so that's cool. Just the whole midsection here I actually think looks pretty cool. I like these kinds of added design elements in the abs there and the little lines on the side and just like the slight color differential with like the red and a little bit of the gray. This could have been one solid block of color, and they did actually put a fair bit of effort into painting it, and I very much appreciate that. And then, of course, you got the truck cab, which doesn't quite sit right, and that's kind of irritating, but fine, whatever. Here he's got that kind of see-through molded detail here. I'm not as fond of it here. It doesn't quite stand out as well here as it does on Orion Pax's chest. I mean, it's okay, but it's just kind of, it's a bit muddy, I think, because you're basically looking at the backs of the wheels. And then you've got the lights for the top of the faux truck cab, and those could have been painted. I think that would have been nice, but whatever. Or the arms, again, no fists that are painted, and you can see here they totally could have made this a separate piece and just mushroom pegged it, but whatever. And he's got the tried and true arrow pointing at his hand for some reason, and the blocky shoulders with the smokestacks, which are cheated smokestacks, but then the cab doesn't really have smokestacks on it. But like, this isn't quite the standard Optimus Prime design, so I'm okay with them taking some liberties. Now that head is very much Optimus Prime. I mean, I don't really know what else to say about it. It's Optimus Prime. It's the classic Optimus Prime helmet, classic Optimus Prime vent thingy in the forehead, nice sky blue eyes, the faceplate. It's just a very Optimus Prime shape. Though I do like this very, very slight cuts on the inside, just on the inside of the mouth plate there, where you can see it kind of go like that. It just adds a little bit more interest to that mouth plate. So he looks good. I feel like just because we've seen so many Optimus Primes before, he's not necessarily that much of a standout. Which, again, I'm not trying to say that he's bad. It's just we've seen a lot of Optimus Primes before, so he doesn't stand out super well in this mode. Though his Orion Pax mode and just the way that all this stuff transforms and has, like, 3 different modes, that is pretty special. Though he is a lot bigger. I mean, he's a leader figure, so of course he is, but yeah, you put him next to a Power of the Primes Deluxe, and he dwarfs a regular deluxe size figure, which is the point. Though I am a bit surprised, it's a little bit tricky to tell, but Prime is a tiny bit taller than Rodimus Unicronus. I was expecting them to be pretty much the same exact height, but nope, Prime is just a tiny bit taller. But yeah, these are 2 very cool figures, though I think it's a tough call, because I do really like the way Rodimus Unicronus looks, but then Optimus also looks really cool, but this is not really a special looking Optimus. It's Orion Pax that really makes this set, so it's a tough call. But I feel like if it came down to it, I would probably go with Rodimus Unicronus over regular Prime, just in terms of the way these modes compare, because I've got a lot of Primes, and this doesn't do a whole lot to stand out. Whereas evil Rodimus Randy Macho Man Savage Lobo absolutely does stand out. But anyway, that is going to do it for Power of the Primes Optimus Prime. He's, like I keep saying, a cool figure, but even though he is a little bit burlier, a little bit beefier, he's still very much a classic Optimus Prime look. And if you've got MP10, if you've got any of the third-party versions of Masterpiece Prime, if you've got any toys that depict a more G1 classic style Optimus, you've got this look down already. So it's not something I would say is like a must-have in terms of this mode. Though I will say, again, Orion Pax is pretty freaking sweet. Hi. I have a cat on my lap. This is making things a little awkward. Do you want to be in the video, or are you just going to curl up on my lap and make things very difficult for me? Oh, yeah, okay, she's going to be in the video. There she goes. Well, guess this one's going in the cat cameo playlist. What is it with you and Optimus Primes? Anyway, as I was saying, I suppose depending on how you handle the budget for collecting and stuff like that, it might actually be worth getting this guy just for Orion Pax. Astrid's not included, though. She is a one-of-a-kind exclusive, and she's all mine. So anyway, I guess that is going to do it for Power of the Primes, Leader Class Optimus Prime. I've said all I can say about this guy, I think. Oh, are you all done? Are you all done? Okay, whoa, careful. Okay. Okay, she's done. But yeah, I'm not disappointed. I was afraid I would be, but I'm really not. But that's enough about what I think. What do you all think? Does anyone else out there have this version of Optimus Prime? And are you as enamored with Orion Pax as I am? Because like I said, I was not expecting that. Is anyone else out there kind of feeling a little bit of classic Prime burnout? Because again, I just feel like we've had so many versions of this guy. And of the 3-ish Power of the Prime's leaders, which would be Optimus here, Rodimus Prime, and Rodimus Unicronus, which of the 3 is your current favorite? Because I feel like mine would still probably be Rodimus Unicronus. And are there any ways that anyone has seen or can think of to make that truck mode not look as bad? Whatever your thoughts, please feel free to comment down below. I do always enjoy hearing from you all. And while you're at it, also feel free to like or subscribe. Any combination of those 3 would make me a happy Rob. And remember, even though a anxious little kitten is circling me like a tiny shark, as always, art is more than meets the eye.